20 and 5. Yeah. Eagles Landing.
I come next week.
I think Fred's like an easy one.
Yeah,
Going from
yeah. He's pretty much done all his homework and
Sure. Good luck on finding a room because they don't have any.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the City of Franklin Planning Commission meeting for February 17th, 2026 at 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
Norm Gayhart.
Here.
Georgiana Haltom.
here.
Bill Carson.
Here.
Michael Spongberg. Suzanne Finley. John Kinsky. Irene Nally. Michelle Stringer.
here.
Matt McElroy.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Will you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of Allegiance. Approval of the minutes, January 20th, 2026 minutes. Do we have a motion to approve as submitted, or is there amendments, deletions, or corrections?
Well done. Thank you. I'd make a motion to approve the amendments.
We have a motion by Stringer,
Second.
second by Matt. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Passes unanimously. And do you want to do the swearing in at this point, or will you do it a new business?
Whatever you wish, sir. Whatever
Why
is
don't-
most convenient.
Why don't we go ahead and do it now, if that's okay with you?
Sure. We have two public hearings on the agenda tonight, so there'll be two petitions to be heard. Pursuant to our rules of procedure, we have time limitations. The petitioner has 15 minutes to begin with 5 minutes for rebuttal, and then remonstrators and any interested parties then have a collective 20 minutes after the petitioner's petition is presented. Also, we take sworn testimony, so if anybody is going to be addressing the board within those parameters tonight, would you please stand and raise your right hand? You don't have to speak if you don't want to, but it doesn't hurt to get sworn. Do you solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you, folks. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Lynn, and thank you for. New business, PC 2533, PUD detail, excuse me, let me back up. I'm sorry, Joanna.
That's okay.
Report officers and committees, Technical Review Committee, report January 22nd, 2026. Joanna, please.
Yep. We did hold the last technical review committee on January 22nd. There were two items on the agenda. The first item was for Eagles Landing, which will be heard this evening. The second item was for Innovative Casting Technologies located at 2100 Earlywood Drive. Property is zoned industrial general, and they are looking at expanding their warehouse facility on the southeast side of that building. That's all.
Thank you, Joanna. Any old business?
No old business.
No old business. New business, PC 2533, PUD detailed plan, Innovation Park at Franklin College, 2026, applicant Franklin College. Joanna, would you summarize this for us, please?
Sure. The subject of property is approximately 250 acres. It's located north of Umbarger Lane and west of Umbarger Lane and north of Park Avenue, Greensburg Road. Property is currently zoned RS1 and RT1. Request is for PUD detailed plan. This did come before the Plan Commission on October 21st of 2025, in which the concept plan was approved. This is the second step of the process for the detailed plan. Let's see. The petitioner has provided exhibits and then also the specifics of the development standards that would correspond with the ordinance should it be approved, and it is ready for the board's consideration and action.
Thank you, Joanna. Would the petitioner like to present regarding this?
I would. Good afternoon, once again. For the record, my name is Tim Oakes. I'm an attorney at Ice Miller with offices at 1 American Square, Suite 2900, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46282. Here this evening on behalf of Franklin College, the owner and petitioner this evening. With me tonight is Franklin College's development partner, the master developer, if you will, which is Patch Development, a local developer. Andrew Greenwood is here, one of the principals. Kimley Horn, Brian Cheward, who is the civil engineer on the project. Browning Day, Drew Bailey's here, and they are the architects and landscape architects for the project. And then Franklin College, with me this evening is Kevin Honingford and Tom Patz. So this is the third time I've been before you. Actually, maybe more like 4 or 5 because of the prior continuances. And the last time was for approval of the conceptual plan for this property. Since that approval of the conceptual plan, a couple things have happened. One, we did have an open house kind of meeting for any interested members of the public that came to the college, expressed concerns and issues. We engaged in a dialogue. I thought the meeting went very well, and we learned things that we've tried to address in the PUD. And then the other thing that happened, obviously, is that we converted, if you will, the conceptual PUD into the detailed PUD. And I'm going to go through that in a little more detail, but what does that really mean? Well, it means is we took the kind of skeleton of the project, which is the conceptual, and we put meat on those bones. The rough layout in the districts are the same, substantially the same as was approved as part of the conceptual plan. That has not changed. The uses in each of the various districts, those have not changed. What has been added is substantially more engineering work has been done. We've added architectural requirements for any building or structure that might be constructed anywhere in this entire district. We've added development standards, and the development standards we've added address each category of development standard that your ordinance, your existing zoning ordinance deals with. So if your zoning ordinance deals with, has a development standard for environmental issues, we have a standard for environmental issues. And we wanted to cover absolutely everything that your zoning ordinance covers. We wanted to make sure was also covered in our PUD. Because at the end of the day, what we're really talking about, if this gets approved, is the best way I think to think about it is a mini zoning ordinance that's custom made for the 250 acres that you see on the screen. And then finally, we've added some design guidelines that should be part of your package. You know, Franklin College has been part of this community for over 100 years. I think they hope to be here another 100 years. What happens here, which is adjacent to their campus, is of vital importance to them. And not only will there be an approval process for anything that gets built out here in the district, that it goes through the city of Franklin, and quite frankly, for type 1 structures through the state of Indiana, but there's a separate design process and approvals that any third party that comes into this project will need to go through and get approval for before it can be built. It's almost like, I think of it as an extra layer to make sure that's what is being proposed fits from an architectural perspective, a use perspective, and is beneficial for this project. No one would love to tell you more than Franklin and College and Patch Development that this is going to be built out in 3 or 4 or even 5 years. That would be fantastic. That'd be a home run. It's far, far more realistic to look at this project as maybe 10 years, just given the amount of acreage and the amount of development that is to occur. And so we've tried to be as thoughtful as possible. And so with that, I'll get into a little bit more of the details on this particular project. Now, keep in mind that when we added meat to those bones, excluding the exhibits, we now, our plan is now 37 pages long. Okay, again, it's a mini little zoning ordinance. And we certainly are happy to discuss any of the provisions. Obviously, that's the purpose for tonight. But I'm not going to stand here and go through all 37 pages. I don't think that's a good use of anybody's time. I'm just going to hit highlights. And certainly, we are more than happy to address any concerns that the Plan Commission might have with respect to this project. So, first off, again, the layout is the same. Hopefully, you looked up at the screen and thought, oh yeah, I've seen this before, because it's similar to what was approved as part of the conceptual plan. This is broken up into 7 different districts, and the detailed PUD for each district says, okay, here are the permitted uses, here are all of the development standards, and that's not just height and setbacks, but that's all of again, the development standards that are part of the Franklin zoning ordinance for any district that exists in the city. Then it gets into all of the architectural and design requirements in engineering. So in the past, and I'm going to focus on this a little bit, certainly again, we're happy to answer any questions that the commission might have about any portion of the district. What seems to have typically garnered the most interest is the detached single-family area, which is a gold area that borders the existing single-family residential to the north. And again, what we've proposed is for if a lot or any portion of a lot is within 100 feet of that northern boundary of that district, the standards are minimum lot size, 12,500 feet, minimum lot width of 85 feet for, now, those lots that exist with homes on them to the north, they're inconsistent in their widths. And the inconsistency exists because there are cul-de-sacs that homes back up onto, and when you have a cul-de-sac, you end up with a pie-shaped lot. And so those lots have very narrow entrance, very wide back end. So in those cases, you sometimes get a disproportionate backyard width at the back lot line. But if you look at the lots where that developer, back when the project was done, was able to just do a straight, we're going to draw a lot, it's along a straight road, so that the width of the lot is the same at the front and the back. We think the 85 feet minimum requirement matches up to those quite well. Lot coverage there is 65%. We have what we call a type 2 modified buffer, which is 25 feet wide with a requirement of 1 canopy tree or 2 evergreen trees every 25 feet. That is enhanced. That's above and beyond what your zoning ordinance would require if this were zoned a conventional residential district. So that is a bump up to the north. For the rest of the detached residential, as you move away, the standards are changed to 10,800 square feet and 75-foot wide lots. The minimum square footage for a ranch on those furthest to the north are 1,600 square feet and 1,800 square feet for a two-story. As you move south, it's 1,200 square feet minimums. Again, those are minimums, and certainly those can be exceeded. And quite frankly, given the design standards and their requirements, we think they will be, simply because the design standards are driving cost here, which are significant because of the construction materials and architectural details that must be included in every home that's built. It's also worth noting as we move forward here that should this get recommended to the city council, and they have the final say in the final vote, and they would approve this PUD district, that at least with respect to the detached residential, we still have to go through a plating process. We'll be back in front of you again. I know you're probably thrilled about that. Where we do even more engineering and more requirements, where we get further along in our drainage plans. We know exactly where the easements are for each lot, what the dimensions of each lot will be. And that will be a public hearing, and everybody will get notice of that hearing, just like they got notice for this one. Similarly, for other uses in the district that are commercial or industrial uses, they will have to go through a development plan approval if plating is not required for this project. Again, so there's multiple steps. This is just the second step. We really have at least two more after this one, if this is approved. Couple other things. Is it possible for you to put up the buffer exhibit? So what's on the screen is the buffer exhibit. The blue line across the north is that type 2 buffer. Then the buffer, which is adjacent, the area that's adjacent to the existing college, they own it, same property owners. No buffer would be installed. There's a type 4 buffer across the entire Greensburg Road, or sometimes I guess Park Avenue frontage. Type 4 is a 25 feet wide buffer area that contains one canopy tree every 30 feet. It will create a very nice impression for cars going up and down Park Avenue and our Greensburg Road, but still allow for the project to be seen. Then the orange area is a type 1 buffer, which is 15 feet wide with one canopy tree every 30 feet. And then again, back along Umberger Lane, we revert back to a type 4 buffer like we did on Park Avenue. We think that screens everything very well. The other comment that we have consistently heard throughout this process are the location of the roads. And in particular, the road that would be the extension of Milford Drive south that connects all the way down to Park Avenue. Planning principles suggest you want that interconnectivity. We're building this to be part of Franklin, not to wall it off from the rest of Franklin. Some folks aren't happy with that. We understand it. And we certainly are willing, we think this makes sense. We think it is consistent with good planning. Now, if the city wants the road to not go through, if the city wants it relocated, we certainly understand, and are willing to do what the city thinks best. Ultimately, it will be your road. But we look forward to continuing to work with the city in terms of its location, but we do think it makes a lot of sense. We did get a comment from, I believe, the Walkers there, the folks that own the property that is surrounded by the green area. You know, they've indicated they're a little bit concerned at how close the east, I'll call the predominantly east-west road gets to their property. Again, we don't think it's actually that close. It's a pretty large scale. And certainly when the actual road gets laid out as part of the platting process, we are committing to them that we'll sit down with them and figure out what needs to be done to secure their property. But I will note that what is surrounding their property, unlike a lot of other areas of this project, is a park open space detention area. So there are no buildings going in that green area. I don't know, maybe a little pergola or gazebo might go there, but nothing in terms of a true building where people are going to live. So we haven't provided a buffer, but we certainly, again, once the final layout and the plat is done, we've committed to working with them to try to figure out if any screening needs to occur. But again, we think it important, this property's too large not to have a thoughtful and integrated road network that connects this project to the rest of the city of Franklin in a logical and sensible manner. And that's what we think this does. Finally, the last thing I'll say, and then I'll we're certainly willing to answer any questions, involves drainage. We have received a few comments from the public expressing concerns about drainage. From our perspective, really, the concerns are probably born out of the fact that given the age of some of the projects to the north, the drainage improvements associated with those projects were just, it's no one's fault. They were done in a manner that was probably consistent with the drainage requirements in place at that time. But they certainly aren't the drainage requirements that exist now. This property predominantly drains to the south. There is a regulated ditch that crosses through the entirety of the project. But we will be required to detain our water and release it at a rate that is limited by the Franklin drainage ordinance. You'll see, if you look closely on, not the buffer, but the other site plan, although they might be on here too, you'll see ponds located in different parts of this property, but predominantly the water is flowing south. They'll go through a series of ponds, and then there'll be a discharge ultimately into that regulated drain. We have zero reason to believe from an engineering perspective that this project will harm any adjacent properties in any way as it relates to drainage. It should, to the extent possible, help. It might be incremental, might be small increment, but because of the way the drainage flows and because of the drainage code requirements that we must comply with, the impact on surrounding properties we think is actually good. So with that, again, there are a lot of new standards put into this. Each area has, if you look at, there's a matrix in terms of the materials that can be used for each type of building. Primary materials must cover 75% of the front facade. For the detached homes, for example, there are only 3 primary materials allowed: brick, stone, and cement fiberboard, hardy plank. That's it. No vinyls allowed anywhere in the district. So the standards are pretty extensive. And we want to thank really everyone at the city, the staff, all the members at TAC that have gone through a pretty lengthy PUD, provided a lot of valuable feedback that's resulted in the actual version that's in front of you this evening. So with that, we thank the Plan Commission, and we really look forward to moving this project forward, which we think can really benefit Franklin College and the city of Franklin. So with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman, given the community interest in the size of the project, I didn't cut him off at 15 minutes, but you used 20. I'm anticipating you'll want the rebuttal. So in the interest of fairness, we can give 25 to the interested parties, any remonstrators as well. But I did want to note that you have additional 5 for rebuttal, and they would have 25.
Does, before we go to that segment, does anyone have the questions for the petitioner? Comments from the commission? Before we get to that point, Matt, will you summarize one of the things that the petitioner mentioned, and just for clarification, so everyone understands post and pre-construction standards on drainage?
Yeah, so basically what we require nowadays is a lot more strict than what it used to be. So now we require basically what we call a 210, 10-100. So the storms have to meet the release rate of the pre-developed conditions, or better than the pre-developed conditions. Sorry. So ultimately that's going to be better. And obviously with it draining into a legal drain, you're going to have the county involved, which they even have stricter requirements. So, and I can't think off the top of my head what that's going to be, but yeah, at the end of the day, drainage is going to be held to a higher standard than what it was back in the 60s or whatever, when the 90s? When the 90s even, for the neighborhood above, so.
Thanks, Matt. I know that's always a relevant question and interest of everyone, and just wanted to summarize that before we got into deep detail and comments from the public. So we'll open it up for public hearings at this point. Anyone would like to speak regarding this project, please come forward, identify yourself, and go to the podium.
Hello, my name is Glenn Carlstrand. I live at 1690 DeCourcy Court here in Franklin. Thank you for allowing me to talk before the commission. And I want to thank all of you Jefferson neighbors who are here to hear out the hearing and show your support. When Franklin College began its second Tech Park PUD effort, many of us in the adjoining neighborhoods were guardedly receptive. We raised significant concerns and hoped we would be listened to. Late last year, we learned when the college made its first PUD attempt, the city had asked the college to meet with the neighbors and listen to their concerns. The college never did that. Recently, the city told the college it had to meet with the neighbors or the project will not go forward. So when we were invited to the meeting on January 8th at the college, we were invited to the meeting on January 8th at the college. We listened to its presentation and again voiced our concerns and made suggested revisions to the PUD proposed. Since then, the detailed plan has been filed. Our concerns have not been addressed. Once again, we have been ignored. Several of us will speak tonight, but I'm going to start about housing. But first, a comment or two from a 30,000-foot view. We're quite glad that the college has engaged patch development. However, we wonder whether the college is seriously taking full advantage of Patch's talent and experience. Here's what I mean. In my left hand is the college detailed plan that the counselor showed you. Some 40 pages or so. Types of businesses and enterprises allowed in the tech park and college-owned sections total 84. There might be a couple, the same ones in some of the, total 84 items. Although this is being sold to you as a tech park for high technology and life science businesses. In my right hand is the Innovation Mile in Noblesville. This is a patch development project. It's 165 pages, but this is on double-sided. It's an amazing document to read. I love it. Great job. Great job. Kudos. There's no question about what will be built in the innovation project. Where it will be built, how it will be built, and so forth. You cannot read this Innovation Mile plan and not know what's going to happen. I look at it here. Building types. It has office building, mixed use, residential apartment, townhouse building. And on the side here, it's got all these detailed standards and pictures. Look at the pictures. You can see what it's going to look like. Look at this. The street designs and everything is just beautiful. Standards for the townhomes, the residential, the detached. You know what's going in here. You can take this. I've read this thing probably 10 times. It's my bedtime reading. I enjoy it. It's really good. Really, really like it. This is what we need for Franklin College to know what we're getting. And now on to housing. Franklin has a housing gap and has had one for decades. Filling the gap is one of the goals of the city's comprehensive plan. Is the gap entry level? Lower priced homes or apartments? Or other rentable housing? No. Franklin has plenty of those. The gap is in higher priced homes. Here are some numbers. You probably already know these numbers. The Bluffs at Young Creek will add 478 homes when finished. Westwind at Cumberland adds 125. Both are high density, lower priced arbor projects. Knightsbridge is another high-density project of lower-priced homes. It will add 240 homes to the Franklin inventory. Drive through these neighborhoods. You will see they do not fill the housing gap. The only higher-end project is Homesteads at Hillview, which will add 130 homes to the housing stock. In 2024, the city had approved apartments totaling 1,025 units, in addition to the then existing apartments and rentable houses. Rentals have been a higher percentage of Franklin's housing stock than is found statewide for some time now. We're higher than statewide. Here's the bottom line. The college land is zoned RS1 and RT1. Look at a map of Franklin, and you will see that it is the largest undeveloped land in the city limits and those zoning designations. Look at our neighborhoods next to the land. Land that is to be developed is supposed to match contiguous neighborhoods with the same zoning and at the same quality of homes. The college land is the last chance to fill the housing gap with higher-priced homes based on lot size, square foot living area, and especially the quality of materials and design standards. For an idea of what housing should be built on the Franklin College land, come look at our neighborhoods. For something newer, go look at the homesteads at Hillview to see what I mean. Something within the range will fill the housing gap. The college's housing does not fit our adjoining neighborhoods. It does not offer only high-priced single-family homes. The lots are smaller than ours, the square foot living space is less than ours, and although we see some improvements in building design material standards, there are still not enough design and architectural details to know Franklin is getting the housing it needs. Why is this important? Lower-priced homes, apartments, and rentable townhomes bring in people who do not stay. They are looking to move up and move on. But those who buy the higher-priced homes usually put down deep roots. They stay, often for decades, and become leaders and contributors to their communities in all kinds of ways. This is why Franklin must fill its housing gap. It cannot afford to miss this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 16 minutes remaining, sir.
16 minutes remaining. Who would like to speak?
Thank you for inviting me. Where was I invited?
You actually got a written invitation, sir.
Yes, I did.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I did. My name's Rene Olivo. I live at 1699 DeCourcy Court. Right there where the crux of the matter is, I think, that street, Milford Street. Traffic has been a huge problem on our street, in our neighborhood, ever since the links were built. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. You can't turn right, you can't turn left because of traffic, and there's been an accident there just recently, and I've had an accident, and I don't know how many other accidents. I don't know when the study's gonna be made or if it was made for traffic, but it seems to me like it's going backwards, but that's just me. In drainage, I wanted to talk a little bit about drainage because drainage, there's a swale behind my yard, and there's a retention drain in my backyard. And when it rains, not only mine, but also Rocky's, I think, Raina's over there, yeah. But we get a ton of water when we get a heavy rain. And we've had some scary moments in the past because of the drainage not flowing right. And I think this gentleman over here said it's going to be much better with the drainage. There's still the issue of the retention pond. Who owns that? That's my concern. There's still, I know they're saying it's my retention pond, but I'm saying it's not my retention pond. So there is an issue there. And who's going to take care, who's going to maintain, and those kinds of things. So water does flow south, but when the construction that was going on there at doctor's office was, I don't know what they did, but the water seems to be flowing north. If you take that and believe it or not, but it seems that way, and it's not flowing right. So our drainage problem is getting worse, so that's my concern too. Request to keep Milford Drive open. I know I've been told it's not gonna happen, it's gonna go through, but I wanna know why. Counselor over here, I got that from you, Glenn. He says that, that we need to connect our city. Our city is connected. I don't understand what that means, connect our city. It's just a neighborhood apart. It's just a line apart. It's not that far apart. Why can't we do what was suggested at Franklin College? Consider maybe a roundabout, I don't know, the study hadn't been done from my understanding. So, I want to know who decides, is it the board that decides that the street's going to go straight through? Why can't we, the residents, decide as well? That's my issue there too with Milford. I'd like to keep it open, of course, but you guys say it's got to connect because we got to join worlds. Well, I think we're close enough. And then the buffer was spoken of as well. You were talking about type 2 modifier buffers. To me, that seems like the sparsity is going to be too far apart, I think. And can we put more dense landscaping? Why can't we do that? And since you're not going to give us at least 50 feet of buffer so that I don't have to see what's going on in my backyard, why can't we do that? Why can't we consider those kinds of things? I know it's important to connect everything, and I'm not opposing connecting, but give me what I think is a little bit more fair of a deal. You guys are going to try to decide everything tonight by passing it on to city council, and I just want this to be considered. Let's see. I think that's all right now that I have as far as a concern, but I would like to be looked at as someone as important as anybody else and listened to, not just say, yeah, we listened to you and take a note and move on and not come back and address our concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Renee. 10 minutes.
Hello there. My name is Tristan Pruitt. I'm the Executive Director at Morning Point Assisted Living, right off Milford Drive. I joined the neighborhood group, not only as an advocate for my residents, but also as a new resident in Franklin myself. Speaking professionally, I understand that Milford is probably going to be an entrance to this new development. After 2 years in my position at Morning Point with my office window facing the intersection at Milford and Jefferson, I see cars speeding through there, rolling stops. I see residents walking their dogs, moms walking with babies. My residents go out and walk Milford Drive a lot in the summer, not as much right now, but in the summer they'll be out there. It's concerning to me that this intersection is not already a four-way stop. And I do believe that if this is a through road here, that it must be a four-way stop. I mean, it's just dangerous. I see it all the time. I've also heard from my residents' families how difficult it is for them to turn left onto King Street, especially after dark. Some saying they won't even visit after dark because of this, because of the lights. You've got 2 lanes going both ways, the median in the middle. So with the additional traffic, how are we ensuring the safety of the residents of Franklin? The visitors, the neighborhood residents, how are we ensuring the safety? Thinking about this, we've already mentioned there's been a wreck there. So I don't know if there can be some sort of roundabout. I don't know what the plan is for that intersection, but definitely Jefferson and Milford needs to have a stop sign. And there needs to be some sort of plan in place for King and Milford. The other thing I wanted to mention really quick about traffic that I'm concerned about is that people are going to use Greensburg to get, go down, come up Milford and get to King Street and then shoot out to the interstate. I would do that personally. So I feel like that's gonna be something, especially college students are going to do. They're not wanna go, not gonna wanna go all the way over to Greensburg and then come up and go out to the light or whatever. So I really see an increase in traffic coming our way, and how are we protecting? I think on down a little bit down Milford, I don't even know that we've got good sidewalks. So, I just wanna address what is the plan for that and what does that look like? Now, I just want to speak personally. I'm 30 years old. My husband and I purchased a home about 5 months ago over on King Street, so I'm not actually living in the neighborhood, but I am a new resident. I originally moved here from Martinsville, and 15, 20 years ago, Franklin was not really a place that we would visit for any reason. We would go to Bloomington or Greenwood or Plainfield or something or other. Fast forward to a year ago, me and my husband were living in Greenwood, and I was working here at Morning Point, and decided that we loved the atmosphere of the farmers market and the amphitheater and all the work that the city has put in to making Franklin such a community, family-friendly place. And when we decided to start looking for a house, we decided that Franklin was gonna be it, so we purchased our home on King Street. It was not cheap. I mean, it's a large investment. We wanna be here for a long time. So I guess where I'm getting at with all of this is, with all the work that the town's done over the past several years, as a resident who, maybe wants to have children one day, put them in the school system, contribute to the community, pay my taxes here, all the things. I do hope that the city and the town takes this development, and builds this development with class, and brings that same amount of energy that they've put into the city over the past 20 years that we've already been building. The safety and security and standards of Franklin must be prioritized in order to maintain the overall community feeling that Franklin currently gives. To not address the traffic concerns at Milford and place high priority on the standards of this development will be extremely disappointing as a resident myself, as someone who wants to live here. And again, just advocating for the safety of my residents. So thank you guys for hearing me out. Thank you. Thank you all.
We still have 5 minutes, folks. Like to address.
I'll be really quick because I know we're running short on time. I just want to speak. My name is Philip Norris. I'm the Director of Commercial Lending at Credit Union One, a company up in Chicago. I know you guys heard from us probably, it was a couple months ago now. Just as a young resident, and just speaking from my experience and my close friends that I've slowly convinced to move to Franklin over time, and just to jump on the back of what's been said, I think that the orange piece right up there is really pivotal, that we maintain building standards. There is a shortage of 2,600 square foot homes on nice acre lots. I've got a lot of friends who own homes that are smaller in town, that have growing families. They want to stay in Franklin, but the homes aren't there for them to look for. There's not a lot of homes like that on the market that have 3 bedrooms for their children. 2 baths. We moved here because we want to start a family, and we skipped the starter home. We've been working on our house. We've been, I spend many nights painting the home, working on it. And I just think that, we have a grand opportunity to build beautiful homes and fill a housing gap for young people who are, just getting ready to be executive or C-suite or moving up in their careers. And we don't want to lose them to the north side, which oftentimes, unfortunately, we do. So I think it's an opportunity to really fill that gap and keep a lot of young professionals here that go to the Heritage Foundation. We sponsored a movie this past weekend, but go to the events like that, and they give money back to the community. My fiance spends all of my money at Salvage Sisters. So, we want to keep families like that, young people who are out and about spending money, going to fundraisers, giving money back to the community. So I think that's really important. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
Hi there, Corey Geesey. I live at 3435 East Greensburg Road. So we will be the 9.8 acre property across from the Office Innovation Center that they're developing. And my only concern, I work in agriculture, and my only concern is for the existing wetlands that are there. There was a retention pond built, and you can see it outlined on the topography. And I know there's gonna be some ponds installed for drainage and purposes like that, but that wetlands has been there now since they installed the soccer fields, and so our main concern is for all of that water that's currently being kept off of our property. And then, obviously, our other drainage concern is not just during storm times, but that ditch that runs south out of that facility. If they increase the non-storm water level of that ditch, it will back up all of the drainage that runs underneath our property and all the way back to the north and west corner on the other side of us as well towards town. So as long as those concerns are addressed, that's what I had the most invested in, so thank you.
Thank you. 1 minute and 50 seconds, sir. You've been in larger pulpits than that.
I've been in larger
Yeah, there you
pulpits.
go.
This is the altar call in.
All right,
Come on.
uh-huh.
Andy Kinsey, 1651 DeCourcy Court. Just a couple things, and I will keep it short, more of a summary because I'm batting cleanup tonight. We said at the very beginning that we wanted to trust and verify, but you may have picked up the feeling tonight that we're pretty skeptical moving forward with this project. At least that's the vibe I'm getting, and just what it's going to mean for our community and literally for us living in the neighborhood. So we do want to trust, but we do want to make sure that things are followed, and I'm sure they will be. This has kicked up kind of a hornet's nest for many people. And I think a lot of this stuff is not simply directed to the future, but it is. It's really directed to now because the drainage is an issue. Maybe we should go to city council. It's really not their concern, though they have said they're concerned, but it's really our concern about, my backyard's flooded now. So why hasn't that been fixed? So that's a question we have for the present. Same for safety, traffic. It's a concern not just going forward. It needs to be addressed now. So those are some things we want to lift up, the housing concern, et cetera. So I hope that the college gets it right. I hope the city gets it right. And the consequences of not doing so, I think, are big for the community. Time's up. The Lord said so.
The big guy was calling.
Every time an angel rings its bells.
Every time a bell rings, an angel got his wings. That's right.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Lynn.
Mr. Bailey.
Before we return to the response from the petitioner, do we have any questions or comments from the commission?
Well, may I say something? It sounds like that it's drainage, traffic, and housing are the issues. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's correct. I was going to ask a question parallel to yours, if that's okay.
Sure. If you don't
So-
cover it, I will then.
Okay, well, we'll bounce back and forth.
Okay.
The thing I was going to ask and suggest to Matt and Joanna to clarify, because I think we're at the stage, and I'm going to give you the layman's perspective, not the professional, I'll yield to them. But I think where we're at on this is the zoning perspective on a PUD. We did the concept plan to basically lay out. Now we're on the detail of the PUD as far as the zoning. And then as we proceed along through the plans of plating and the other things, we'll be dealing with transportation, drainage, and then more detailed specifics of how this affects the overall summary. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct.
So if a study is needed, initiated for transportation, they'll be required to do that. If there's other issues with this project that plating can resolve, I'm sure that the staff will take those into consideration. And I do also know, as I've read through here, there is, and I think this is unusual, and correct me, Lynn, if I'm wrong, but there will be a public hearing at the council too, and that's unusual on a zoning perspective, but not on a PUD. Is that right?
Yeah, but we have made a practice to have a public hearing. Yeah, but, yeah, it's different, but we try to have public hearings
So
anyway.
I'm
at
halfway
council.
right.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there's another process. So I think that what I'm understanding, and staff could clarify, we're at a long stage, but the beginning of the zoning perspective. And what's unique about this is when a zoning classification change comes in, you don't have the opportunity to request of them these architectural standards and commitments that we do right now, and the things we can do within the zoning. So, unlike a typical zoning, is that correct, Jelena?
Yeah,
Somewhat.
PUD process is much more entailed. There's a lot more dialogue back and forth of what is appropriate. I know the petitioner has 5 minutes for rebuttal, but I did want to take the opportunity to make some clarification regarding some of the information that was presented, either as concerns or just brought up, that are specific to city requirements. I don't believe it's fair to
Let the petitioner.
use, the petitioner use his 5 minutes for those
Well,
items.
I didn't plan on leaving him out, but I thought if we can resolve some of these issues, maybe his responses would be alleviated. But go ahead.
No, I mean, if
So I do have a
Joanna
list
wants to go first, please.
of
Why don't-
clarifications.
Why don't we just, keeping it consistent, let Tim finish the public hearing with his 5 minutes of rebuttal. Then we close the public hearing. Then we will go, as we typically do, for members of the commission and/or requests of staff. So that's what we typically do.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go fast, so bear with me. So I agree with the statement in terms of what the three primary categories are. I'm going to start with drainage. This project, it will not harm people from a drainage perspective. It can only help. And the requirements that we will have to meet as we develop this will ensure that. We have to provide a drainage study that's far more, it'll be that thick. And we just have to comply with it. There's no question about it. In terms of wetlands, if there are wetlands out there, we have to delineate them. We'll have to submit a letter to the Army Corps of Engineering, which is jurisdictional determination. If it is a wetlands, depending on the quality, we have to mitigate it if we damage it. So from a drainage and water perspective, no problems, not with this site, and that will be dealt with really as we move forward. Traffic. Boy, we want this to be safe. Talk about an institution that has the people that it serves walk. That's a college, okay? I think it's probably safe to say that the students at Franklin College walk more than probably anybody else in the city. And the college is concerned about safety, okay? We agree wholeheartedly. If there is an intersection that creates a hazardous situation, let's fix it, okay? We've never said that that was not our intent. We will have to do a traffic study. The traffic study, I'm sure, will include the intersection of Milford and King, or Milford and Jefferson, and let's see what it says. And I suspect those, to the extent there are problems identified, they'll have to be addressed. That's not in this PUD. That comes at a later step. But we agree, traffic needs to be safe. And as we develop this, the engineers, the experts, the true experts in terms of streets, street layouts, and traffic tell us that this is unsafe, then we're not going to do it. It has to be safe. It will be safe. And this PUD does not suggest that it will be anything but. Okay, it is going to be safe. We're not going to allow something to be built that is not safe. And then finally, I want to address a couple of things that Mr. Carlstedt said. Some of them I'm going to take exception to. 84 uses, a lot of them are duplicative. 1, 2, all of those uses came directly from the Franklin zoning ordinance. We have 7 different zoning districts here, and we took the closest zoning district that's in the city's ordinance and pulled those uses in. All right, and they're actually less than most of the districts. They're actually less than what the Franklin zoning ordinance requires, would allow in many of those instances. we've consistently said, if there's a use in one of the districts that is troubling to somebody, let us know. We didn't hear somebody say, hey, I see in the Office Innovation District, you're allowing X. Can you strike X? We never heard that. Now, if somebody wants to provide that information to us, fine, let us know. We'll consider it. There's this notion that what we're proposing in the orange, gold, we'll call it the detached single-family area, is entry-level housing. But what was never discussed is the 6 pages of architectural standards that have been added for the project. What any house that's built has to include, what the materiality of that house is. And I think if you go through that, what you'll see is this isn't going to be an entry-level house. It may not be as big, the lot may not be as big as everybody wants, but that's not what the market wants these days. You don't see new homes at price points of $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 that are on 1 acre lots anymore. People don't want it. They don't want to take care of that yard. Finally, it was interesting when the design documentation for the development in Noblesville was held up. And all I got to say is I'm familiar with that project. I've done work in that district, in the Innovation District, and I can tell you that there's a reason that that thing is so long. It deviates from the Noblesville UDO way more than our proposed PUD deviates from Franklin's zoning ordinance. And the more you deviate, the more you got to cover. That's why it's so long. And we're thrilled we have Patch. And we agree with the statement about, hey, great, Patch is here. Patch has reviewed everything. And so with that, again, we'd be happy to answer any questions that the Plan Commission might have.
Mr. Chairman, we can now close the public hearing. What that means, it opens it up to the commission members to ask questions of anyone they so desire. But the public hearing is now closed. So that includes of the petitioner, developer, remonstrators, or of our own staff. That's correct.
Do we have any comments, questions, or thoughts regarding the petitioner's presentation or other evidence we heard this evening?
I have a question related to housing, as far as the price range are they mostly wanting to consider? They've talked about how they want it to look and what the curb appeal is going to be, but what is the price possibility level that it's going to be?
Can someone from the petitioner answer her question, please?
Andrew Greenwood with Patch Development. In terms of, we have not set like a bottom line and said it has to be X amount of dollars or this is the sales price that it will need to be, but all of the different home builders that we've dealt with have communicated with us that based on these requirements, we're probably looking at houses that are that $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 and up. Just based on the materiality, based on the cost of labor, the land, everything that's going to go into that price of that home. So these are not going to be $200,000 to $300,000 starter homes. It's just not financially possible.
So the price is going to be not so much related to the square footage as it is to the materials used on it.
It's a combination of both, but these are not small homes. These are not, we're not trying to do what I would consider entry level or even move up homes. These will be probably more in line with what we talked about in the meeting when we had with the neighbors, more of the missing middle, not necessarily the high-end estate lots. That's not what we've heard from the market, so that's why we've brought this product, which is still not a lower-end product, and it will match with what is going to the north, in our opinion.
Yeah, thank you.
Without exposing your contacts names, but are they tract home builders? Are they different from that, or what are you suggesting?
They are what I would consider semi-production and the higher end of that, just because of based on the requirements that we have with the architecture. A lot of what you would consider entry-level production builders are not interested. They can't make it work. They don't have that product, and that's who we're talking to. But we have not finalized any agreements. We obviously have to get through this before we can even take those next steps. Thank you.
I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
The lots, then, the Franklin College will sell the lots, is that correct?
That hasn't been determined exactly how that would work. It might wind up being patch development. It might wind up being the home builder would buy all of the lots and then sell them themselves. We're still early on in that stage, but Franklin College will not be putting up a model home, and I don't believe Kevin, Tom, or the president are going to be selling homes there themselves. So it would be some kind of arrangement with another third party.
It'll be someone that has done this before.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Someone that will provide a tax-real income.
Excuse me?
Someone that will provide a tax-real income.
Yes.
Well, you have listened, though, to some of the concerns related to housing tonight, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like a very constructive meeting with the neighborhood and probably other folks back in January. We've been involved in this project, for a few months, so I don't have all of the history, and I know that there was a lot of contentiousness about how this would all work. We had a very frank conversation about some of the issues in terms of the stormwater and the road network and how we felt like it was the right project and the right connectivity, which we believe in, and I know not everyone agrees with that. So I can't convince everyone of why that works, but I know that Joanna would probably agree with me, and so would most planning professionals, and Tim mentioned that. Connectivity is a huge part of what we do. We want to be a part of the community, and in terms of the road traffic, it has to be safe, but the other thing I would tell you is these roads are designed in a way, at least the way that we believe that they will be designed and have to be designed with roundabouts and other metrics that will slow everyone down, which will help the issue, not hurt it. So this is not going to be, in my opinion, for us to be successful, we cannot have it be a runway thoroughfare where people are cutting through here to get to King Street. No, that's not what we want. We want people walking. We want people slowing down. We want people coming into this area and feeling safe. If it turns into a highway, then we've failed. And then if we fail, then it's not successful and no one is successful. And I don't believe that this city will allow us to build roads that would work in that fashion. So we're talking about boulevards with walking trails and landscaping and, attractive measures that also slow people down as they drive. And I am not a traffic engineer whatsoever, but I have enough experience dealing with this to know that that is vitally important to what we're doing. And we tried to explain that in the meeting, and sometimes maybe it didn't come across the right way, so I apologize.
Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns, or comments? Is it time for Joanna to summarize for us?
It is. And then when she gets done, I want to surmise again how the process works, because we only have 6 minutes.
That was part of my thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
Well-
you meant this evening.
yeah, we are a
Okay.
9-member board, as you all know, correct? We have a quorum tonight because we have 5 voting members here. However, in order for us to take official action according to our local rules of procedure, you have to have a majority of the entire membership of the board. So when you are going to be called to ask the question of either forwarding with an unfavorable recommendation, a favorable recommendation, or continuing the hearing, you will need to have a unanimous vote on any one of those in order for it to go forward. If it does not, if you do not have a unanimous vote because of the number of people we have here, then it will be returned here to our next regularly scheduled meeting. So that was my rules and procedure part. You talk about the details.
As I mentioned earlier, there are some points that I did want to clarify from the city's perspective and requirements. In regard to connectivity, the city does require that existing subdivisions, future future commercial projects do provide connectivity between them. So as they have shown, Milford is being connected. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a straight line. So as they had mentioned, this is a detailed plan. It's not the actual design. So the layout of how that road sits can be different from what is shown here. But being connected to Milford and also providing a connectivity to the property at the northwest corner of Umbarger and Greensburg Road is a requirement of the city. So when that property would be developed, they would have that additional connectivity and wouldn't just be accessing off of Greensburg and Umbarger. In regard to buffer yards, the City of Franklin's buffer yard requirements are for zoning districts that are not compatible with each other, that are not the same. So if you have residential adjacent to commercial or industrial adjacent to commercial or institutional, we have requirements that there's a buffer zone that's provided on both properties if they are coming in at the time that our current ordinance exists. We do not have a requirement that there be a buffer between like uses. So in regard to the proposed buffer along the north property line of the detached single-family residential to the existing detached single-family residential, currently the City of Franklin would not require any buffer at all. So that is something that Franklin College is offering as part of their commitments. So I did want to note that is a difference, which goes back to what Mr. Oakes was saying, that the language in the PUD is anything that deviates from our standards. So we do have a buffer yard section in our ordinance. Since their buffer yards are different, that's why they have a section. There are many sections of the proposed PUD that directly relates to the article in our zoning ordinance. So whatever our standards are today, or as amended, would apply. In regard to the concern of the existing drainage of the residential portion on the north, the pond is the responsibility of the homeowners in which their stormwater drains to that pond. It's currently owned by title from Irwin Union Bank, which is not in existence. There is the system along that south property line that is not functioning as it was designed. It is the homeowner's responsibility to maintain the stormwater as designed on that area. I don't want there to be any misconception that when we talk about drainage of this property, of it affecting or making that better or fixing that problem. What is being portrayed is that the existing drainage of the field will be better than what it is currently. Could it alleviate some of the drainage that potentially runs north? Yes. But we can't say that for certain without the next steps of a full drainage review. We'll know more of that information as we proceed. In regard to discussions about the existing zoning versus the proposed detached lot sizes, currently the property is zoned RS1 and RT1. As proposed, the properties immediately adjacent to the existing homes would be in between an RS1 and an RS2. However, the remaining lots in the detached meet the RT1 zoning, which is currently part of the property zoning, and then would meet in RS2. So I did want to just kind of put that information out there, since it is something that was discussed and I hadn't included in the staff report. So I think that's important for both the board, the petitioner, and the public to know. The last thing that I wanted to go over was the full development process. So we're currently on step 2 of the full development. Following this meeting, if a recommendation is forwarded to council this evening, it would be docketed for introduction to city council on March 16th. The public hearing and official action would then be docketed for April 6th. The notification requirements for those meetings is the information I'm presenting this evening, and then we'll reiterate where we stand after a vote's taken. And there will also be a legal ad in the newspaper. City council meetings do not have independent mailings to adjoining property owners. Following city council official action, should it be approved, the next step would be a full design of the entire property as a primary plat. That primary plat does just that, kind of a preliminary, more detailed review of the engineering on layout of the streets, review of the drainage, lot sizes, setbacks, easements, traffic study. Along with that primary plat goes to technical review committee, which is a public meeting, not a public hearing. So it's not open for discussion from the public, but you can attend if you'd like. It then is forwarded to Plan Commission as a public hearing. For that public hearing, public notices are required both by a legal ad and independent mailings to property owners, which is the same as what you've received this evening and for the concept plan. Along with that, because there is a legal drain involved in this process, the Johnson County Drainage Board will also hold a public hearing for preliminary drainage review. And as Matt had mentioned, their standards are different than the city's. Their standards are actually stricter than what the city has. So whatever is most restrictive would be the requirements that the drainage would have to meet for this project. That also has a legal ad and independent mailings to property owners. Their notification area is different than the city's. I believe there's maybe 600 feet. The last time I had checked, ours is 500 feet. So additional property owners would be notified. Following that, the petitioner and their civil designers would go back through and have a much more detailed design review, engineering analysis, drainage analysis for the actual development criteria and standards, infrastructure standards, which would be exact locations of streets, location of utilities, location of sidewalks, finalizing of easements, and then it is an additional drainage review that would go with that. So on our side, that's called the secondary plat and construction plan submittal. That does go to technical review committee. The only reason it would be forwarded to Plan Commission if there was a waiver from any subdivision standards. Those subdivision standards are limited to street trees, public sidewalks, which neither of those are generally granted, so we don't hear those most times, or drainage. There are legitimate reasons of why there may be a drainage waiver, and that's why it goes to the public hearing. So those would be the only reasons a public hearing would become before the Plan Commission. However, Johnson County Drainage Board also requires a public hearing for the final drainage at that point. The thing I would like to note is that secondary plat and construction phase is only for the section that is being developed at the time. It's very unusual for 250 acres to be designed and developed one time. So we will typically see these sort of projects in phases. For example, the Bluffs at Youngs Creek, which is just a residential subdivision. And I say just because it has one zoning, one classification, one set of standards. It has 7 sections. For example, Cumberland at, what's it called? West Wind at Cumberland has 2 sections. Yeah, Winterfield, which is on Hurricane, has 5 sections. And Kingsbridge, which also includes some commercial, currently has 5 sections, but the commercial hasn't been reviewed or approved, so they're going to even have additional sections. I would probably guess 7 or 8 total by the end of that project. So every time that there would be that secondary plat and construction plans with that more detailed drainage, the process of going to technical review committee and going to Johnson County Drainage Board happens every single time. So that is the public process for putting a shovel in the ground for the very first time. So we do look at it at a very detailed level with a lot of oversight.
Joanna, thank you very much for that detailed overview. It's very important. And Lynn, thank you very much for your synopsis of it. I apologize for muddying the waters earlier. I should have left it to the professionals.
No, you did. You didn't.
Do we have any more discussion, concerns, questions from any, Joanna, Lynn, or anyone else from the commission's perspective?
I don't have anything else.
I don't either, sir.
Does the commission have a position on this, either a motion favorable, unfavorable, or a motion to continue?
You actually, I'm remiss, you have the ability to favorable, unfavorable, make no recommendation, or move to continue if you don't have all of you voting in the same manner.
Lynn,
Yes.
the no recommendation is not an option for PUDs.
Oh, it's not for PUD?
It is not.
It's only for zoning ordinance? I stand corrected. Pay her more money.
You were right the first time.
She'll keep you straight.
Take it
Okay.
out, take it out of legal
What
budget.
she said.
Yeah, take it out of the legal budget. For a PUD, it's not, it's only for zoning ordinances.
Correct.
Thank you.
There's only the 3 options, favorable, unfavorable, or
it'll
to
be
continue.
Do we have a motion or consideration for the 3 options that we have, favorable, unfavorable, or a motion to continue?
I have a question. If we were to do unfavorable and we have 3 people missing, what happens then? Do they get to go through this again, or how do they learn?
They have available to them the entire transcript of what you heard today.
Okay.
If the board were inclined to ask for additional information, but we don't repeat the same information we've done
Okay.
that before.
But they have it available where they can review
Absolutely.
it?
These hearings are recorded, the transcript is made available, the documents are for them to review.
Georgiana, were you asking if an unfavorable recommendation by all 5 is being forwarded?
No, I was asking if we chose to say that we wanted to continue
Okay,
because of the number of people that are not available.
okay.
We would not have another public hearing, we've already done that. And what's happened in the past is the people who weren't there reviewed the information beforehand and came in. And then the board always has the ability, if they're so inclined, to ask for information, but a public hearing has already been conducted.
So there are no letters go out or?
No, no. It's, if there is a motion to continue, you then continue it to the next regularly scheduled meeting, and we announce it tonight. Or, if you have a 4-1 vote, it's automatically continued per our rules of procedure.
I have a motion.
Mr. Carson has a motion.
Move to continue PC 25-33.
A motion by Mr. Carson to continue,
I second.
second by Georgiana Holtum. All those in favor?
Let's do a
With
roll
roll
call,
call,
sir.
yeah.
Thank you.
Aye.
Michelle Stringer,
Aye.
Norm Gayheart,
Aye.
Georgiana Halton,
Aye.
Bill Carson.
Bill Carson,
From way down here, aye.
Down there with your friends? All right, so the motion carries. What will then be, it'll be appear under old business on our next agenda. There will not be another advertised public hearing. However, I would recommend that the petitioner be here, the remonstrators be here in case there are any questions that are generated from the board. And those are asked for. We have in the past, if there's any newly, Joanna, if I recall, the last time we did this, if there were any newly designated commitments, we've commented on that. I mean,
Yeah, any changes that would be
generated.
made,
That's
because
correct.
it's new information, would be presented by the petitioner. At that time, the Plan Commission then decides if they want to open it up for public hearing.
And generally, it's been our practice that for instance, if the petitioner came in and said, all right, we committed to something X,
Right.
and they said that, we would then offer an equivalent period of time to anybody, and I call them, whether demonstrators or concerned citizens on the other side.
say.
That's correct. That's correct. And no new notice is given, but this is automatically continued to our next regular scheduled meeting, Joanna, which is?
March 17th at 6 PM in this room.
Okay, that's not St. Patrick's Day, is it?
It is.
All right, everybody bring a green
Bring
beer,
green.
we'll have a good time. See you then.
Thank you.
It's hot in here.
Next on the agenda is PC 2535 Eagles Landing rezoning. Joanna, would you summarize this for us, please?
Hey, folks, we have one more, if you could, keep it down, please.
Is he a minister?
Andy Kinsey? That's it. Hey, folks. Hey, Renee, take your friends outside, please. We've got another petition. We have another meeting, yeah, another petition.
Why is this not working? There it is.
All right, there we go, sir. You know how to clear a room, don't you?
Okay. Second item on the agenda is PC 2535, which is Eagles Landing rezoning. The request is filed by Estates at Franklin LLC to rezone approximately 46 acres from PUD to RS1, which is Residential Suburban 1, with offered commitments. Property is located at 2625 North Hurricane Road. This is a property that was previously the Indiana Golf Academy. So back in 2022, the original concept and plan came before the Plan Commission as Eagles Landing PUD. And that was approved by City Council on June 20th of 2022. Included in that were commercial uses for the existing Indiana Golf Academy structure, and then an additional commercial lot immediately north of that parcel and south of the entrance to the subdivision. The original proposal had, I believe, 91 single-family residential lots with a couple of different products proposed. I'm sure the petitioner will go through the specifics of that. What is before you this evening is a request to rezone the portion of that PUD excluding the lot designated for the old Indiana Golf Academy structure and that commercial lot. So it is a little bit different. We did have a conversation with the petitioner on also rezoning those portions to one of our existing straight zoning districts. However, after looking at the current uses that are in the existing facility, any of our zoning districts would immediately put that structure and its uses as legal nonconforming, which is kind of unusual of doing that. Because the PUD came before the board with that as the only commercial area, with the remaining portion being straight, single-family residential, those two areas are removed from the request. So if this was forwarded and city council approved the straight rezoning to RS1, the existing PUD ordinance requirements for those would remain. What we've discussed, that should that occur, in order for housekeeping on the city side, when the ordinance for rezoning the residential portion from PUD to RS1, we would have a companion piece amending the existing PUD ordinance, and it would just remove all of the requirements that were in reference to the residential section, just for administration portion on the city side. So it is a little bit different than what we typically see. What is proposed is lots that are an acre or greater in size. They're at least 100 foot in width at the building setback line, which does put it at a RS1 zoning district classification, and is ready for the board's consideration and action.
Thank you, Joanna. Do you have anything, Lynn, regarding this?
I do not.
Would the petitioner like to present?
Sure, thank you.
Pretty much know everybody in the audience. Do I need to put a timer, Fred, or you good? Can you get it in
Want to
20?
get as much as other people got?
No.
Oh, I hope not.
No, first of all, I just want to thank you for hearing us today, for the opportunity to speak in front of you. I'd like to introduce the other two company owners, which is my wife, Michelle, and Roger Curry. We are the owners of the Estates of Franklin Development and Eagles Landing. Brief history of the site. She already kind of went through it pretty good, so I'll cut those few seconds out. So anyhow, it was a golf school and part of a PUD golf course and all that. When we came in to seek this plan in 2020, we bought the property in like 2021, and we came in 2022 thinking we were going to do this work. One of our biggest goals was to get the existing building done. The existing building had been falling into some disrepair. We think we're going to pat ourselves on the back a little bit. We think the building is a phenomenal building. We think we've done a beautiful job of landscaping it, and what you see around that building is the kind of look we want to have around the entire rest of the property. At the time we came in for the original 90 lots, our proposal, first of all, we thought we could make it work. And we had these three distinct areas. One was going to be for detached housing, another one for a move-up housing, and another one for the really bigger homes on the golf course. Well, make a long story short, with COVID, the cost of material and everything skyrocketing, the uniqueness of the land, because we lose about 8 acres for floodplains and all those areas, the amount of area we could build on was small enough that we just could not pull off the cost of putting in the streets, the lift station, and the amount of development it would take to develop 90 lots. And so when that lot cost started getting up to 80,000 a lot, we thought, who in the world would do it, and who in the world would buy them? Okay, so it sounds weird that we can go to bigger lots and take our costs down. But in this particular case, we believe that's exactly what would work. And the other thing that happened in recent history is we've watched what's happened with a couple of things. We did have some other big developers from the north side of Greenwood or Indianapolis came down and wanted to look at our property the way it was at 90 lots. And they'd say, oh, we really love what you're doing here. We think it'll work. Well, what would work meant they wanted to reduce the size of the homes, reduce the size of the garages, put in more lots, and that was totally unacceptable to us. That's not what we want to be. That's not what we want our development to be. So we just finally made the decision to scrap it and start over. And then after that, we started watching Hillview Village take off, or Hillview take off. And Hillview has taken off to be a beautiful neighborhood. And they've even went so far as to go back in and resplit some of their lots and make them 3 lots into 2 because the homes they're building are barely fitting on the lots. So we have
kept our commitments for our highest area, which was Rock Ridge Manor. And we've even upped those requirements some for Rock Ridge Manor into larger garages. And like she said, 1 acre to 2.5 acre lots. We've also have changed it to we will allow, like Aberdeen, if any of you have ever been to Bargersville, they are allowed to have a detached building of up to 1,650 feet, but the detached building has to match the house. So if you got a brick house, the building's got to be brick. They got to blend. And so we've added that in there because what we're shooting for is these 17 lots. We believe that they were, number one, the cost of them is probably going to be $250,000 to $300,000 for a building lot. So they're not cheap. May take a few years to sell them. Okay, if it does, it does. We do have people already interested in them. Obviously, these are custom home builders that we're talking to. And I'll throw out, I'll just throw out my favorite name. I love the man like a brother. Mike Wall is my go-to guy when I'm talking about building a quality home. Has been for years, but there's other builders that are just as good that would be welcome. So that is our plan. We want to have 17 1 to 2 acre lots. The reason for the one extra commercial lot is because we didn't get here first. The subdivision across the road got here first, and so we have to match our street up to their street. So when we had to move our street further north, it chopped that lot off, and it would be weird to put a house over there next to the commercial building, so we just made that a commercial lot. And we're expecting maybe a dentist or a financial advisor, somebody like that we think would be a perfect person for that lot someday. She's already told you we met all the, we meet all the setback requirements. And let's see, I've had 3 things I want to make sure and of course the college proposal you heard tonight. We are hopeful that should that project get to a finality, that we were very hopeful that maybe we would hear that there will be some custom homes in that area. That area that they're talking about, it would be, we're hoping that maybe they will invite, the lot size that they're proposing, I don't believe is a big problem today. People build massive houses on small lots today. But anyhow, I'm hoping that they'll invite some custom home builders into there because we think they're also going to meet another area that we were going to meet. They're going to meet the area for the detached single-family retirement homes. They've got an area of those in their development plan. So we think that there's a good chance that if they get through the process and work it out, that they will meet what our 90-lot subdivision was going to be. We're going up for a very few high-end lots. Most of them face the golf course. And we're also trying to work with Ted Bishop still to allow the golf school to keep 4 to 6 holes in that floodplain. We're really hopeful that will work. We think it's important to the community, it's important to the golf school and the kids that are learning golf to have those holes. That said, I cannot promise you that yet because it's sometimes difficult to come to agreements with other people. So we'll keep working on that.
Well, we've never had that experience at all.
Well, I've had that experience with some of you before, but that's okay. No, anyhow, so I'm just going to say that's it in a nutshell, is we're wanting to go, it's funny, we're talking about R1 zoning in that area. And R1 zoning, we're talking about 12,000 square foot lots. Our lots, R1, we're going to be 43,000 square feet minimum. Okay, so that kind of gives you the idea of it. That's what we want to do. We think that the town of Franklin is ready for a certain amount of $2 million to $2.5 million homes. And we want to be that place where they can build that home. That's it. Oh, and Roger's the tech guy, so if you got technical questions, that's his bailiwick.
Fred, I do know you had pictures in your thing. Did you have a book that you wanted to show?
Well, yeah, you know what? I am going to take liberty for a minute.
Because the pictures really, you couldn't quite tell.
There were pictures in the original presentation showing some of the homes and the quality. The other thing that's happened in recent history, you drive through Hillview, how much brick do you see today?
Yeah.
Okay, and how much painted brick do you see, which makes no sense to me, but people are painting their brick, and that's up to them. That's what they want to do, that's fine. My point being is the high-end $1 million, $2 million, even the $500,000, they don't want to be held to, got to have 40% brick, got to have 50% brick. They want to use a mixture of materials, okay? And so one of the big presentations I had on my PowerPoint last time, I had them scattered all over the room for you.
Right.
We had pictures from, the one that always impressed me that I always go to and lean to is my brother Dan's house in Paris Estates. You drive by the house, if you, I dare any of you to drive by and say, that's vinyl siding. Okay, because I get frustrated because when people are talking about materials, they want to talk about, we're not going to have any vinyl siding. We're going to have this much brick, we're going to have this much, we're going to have wood siding, we're going to have cement siding. Well, folks, I'm going to tell you, some of those products aren't even totally tested yet. Some of them have not only been on these buildings 15 and 20 years. I can look across the road from, on the north side, on the west side of Hurricane Road, and some of those products delaminate. There are problems with some of them. So the theory is, if you want to look at like Cornet Roofing, Malarkey Roofing, they have their, now Cornet Roofing doesn't have any cheaper products, okay? Cornet Roofing's right up here, and I see they're doing North Main and Madison right now. But, so we have been pushing people to consider Cornet Roofing. We will push them to look at some of the high-end Malarkey Roofing. But our standards, Roger, we are going to stay involved as the controllers of that homeowner association till every single lot is sold. Now, if that takes 20 years, Roger and I may not be here. But if we're not, somebody will be left in control. My wife's gonna live to
I
100.
just say, but only the good die young.
She
Fred.
can
We're
see
gonna be
that
gone.
through. But so we want to control the quality of the product more so than the product. And that's the reason, I always keep bringing this with me, and anybody wants to look at it later can. This is a vinyl product, it'll be the minimum we allow on our properties. And if, I dare tell you, if you put that vinyl product on your house, you're not gonna have any problem with it. It's like 6 or 8 times thicker than normal vinyl product. So, that's the end of what I got to share.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Do you have any questions for the petitioner?
Yeah, I do, one. On the 17 lots, is the commercial one of the 17?
19, I think.
Well, there's,
I thought it was 16, yeah.
This is Roger Correa, Fred's partner.
Roger, if you could just wait, just so she can, if you come to the microphone, so she can pick it up when she does the minutes.
She's smarter than me, so I'm gonna get
Well, not really, but they're, not at all, but there are 16. So we went from 91 to 16 residential lots. So that's how many there are.
And then the other one is a commercial.
There's commercial lot 1 and commercial lot 2, and as Joanna said, that's exactly the way the PUD was. So we did not change really anything in the PUD. We still have 2 commercial lots, but what we did do is go from 91 to 16 residential lots. Our commitments are essentially exactly the same as they were in the PUD, except they're improved, and Fred outlined a few things. For example, we have a 3-car garage minimum, and we have greater square footage than we did in the original one. The PUD had different layers, but we took the custom-built homes, the commitments that were in that, and we essentially used those, but we increased the standards. So that's what we did.
Can you pass that on?
Sure.
In fact, the standards for vinyl are verbatim what was already approved in the PUD. And so it's not just vinyl, it's vinyl that meets certain specifications that this smart gentleman here researched and, has essentially assured you that if you put that on there, it's going to be a great product. So that's what we did.
If you buy a lot at $250, you're probably not looking to save money.
Well, everybody
Right.
is kind of, but it's got to be nice or it's not going to be built.
Do you think that there'll be different designs too?
Yeah, actually, there was an anti-monotony standard that was approved in the other PUD, and so we copied that, and so there are anti-monotony requirements, and so, yeah, they will be different.
Thank you.
So some of the requirements that they are offering in the commitments that go above and beyond the RS1 standards is the minimum lot size would be 1 acre if rezoned. The minimum lot width would be 100. The minimum front yard setback would be 30 feet instead of 25 feet. Sorry. 20 feet. So 30 instead of 20. Minimum living area of a single-story dwelling would be 2,600 square feet. 2-story would be 3,200 square feet. well, in the RS1, the minimum living area is 1,800 square feet, be it one-story or two-story. So I know that's always a question of what's presented in the concept plan of how it translates to the language, and there is black and white language that would require those size lots and those size houses.
Any other comments, questions for staff or the presenter? Do we have a position on the issue? Do we have a motion to pass with favorable, unfavorable? Or is this one a,
No recommendation
or
or
a no
continue.
recommendation?
It's rezoning. It's not a PUD.
Mr. Chairman, I say that on PC 25-35, that we pass a favorable recommendation to the city council.
We have a motion by Holtum. Do we-
Second.
With the
Second.
commitments?
With the commitment?
With the commitments, yes, please.
We have a motion by Holtum and a second by Carson. Let's just go ahead and do a roll call.
Norm Gayheart,
Aye. Yes.
Al Stringer,
Aye.
Matt McElroy,
Aye.
Georgiana Halton,
Aye.
Bill Carson.
Aye.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
So this will be forwarded for introduction before City Council on March 16th at 6 PM in the council chambers where we are, with the public hearing and official action proposed for April 6th.
So this one won't, at this point, won't coincide with the other one now, but that's pushed back a month, right?
Correct.
Good. This will go, you'll be up there first on the council agenda.
Roger will be here, I'm gonna be in Southwest USA somewhere.
Okay. Well, I hope so. Hope you're having fun.
With RV.
Yeah. We're at the stage of other business. We have any other business?
The only thing that I would like to put out there publicly is that we do have a GIS manager's position open in the Planning and Engineering Department. We're still taking applications for that. It is a position that would be coordinated both in Planning and Engineering, but also the Street Department and DPW. So we are still looking for additional applicants. If anybody knows somebody, or somebody's listening.
Hey, Fred,
Fred,
your samples.
oh, don't forget this.
Joanne, have you had that advertised for a while now, or?
Yes, it's been advertised for a while. It is both
Sure,
on
thank
the
you.
City of Franklin's website and Indeed.
I was on Indeed too, though.
Any other business?
No other business.
Do we have a motion?
I have a motion that we resign. I mean, that we.
Resign. Adjourn.
Second that.
Adjourn.
I second that.
I'm going to object. You're not all resigning.
We have a motion.
To adjourn.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody second it, so we go.
Somebody have a second?
Second.
Second.
We got a few. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That was tough.
I make a motion, we resign.
To resign. Me too. Second that.
I felt the same.
Michelle, I looked at it when I asked Fred if he wanted to show and tell his product, and you looked at me like, shut up.
Really quiet.
Well, I figured I brought it, I didn't want to.
Oh, I know.
I was. Thanks.
Oh, I think they will too. I think it's great.
I do, too. I think they'll sell 16 lots out there.